on three specific issues, after which we will take questions. Very briefly, firstly, the issue of there having been no elections of a mayor and 5 chairpersons in 6 local authority areas, almost 3 months after the local government elections of March 18. On May 31st, 2016, I wrote a letter to the Chief Elections Officer, reading thus, and I'll read the letter. It's addressed to the Chief Elections Officer through the Chairman of the Elections Commission. Dear Sir, I write in my capacity as a GECOM Commissioner appointed by the President after nomination by the Leader of the Opposition. Before being appointed GECOM Commissioner, I was a Member of Parliament, with Region 3 being my main constituency. My responsibility continues to be the welfare of the Guyanese people. It has been 2 months since the local government elections, and still there are 6 local authority areas which have been unable to function in service to the people, and this is due to the fact that there was no election of a mayor or chairman from among the duly elected councillors. It is my understanding that the town clerk and or overseers of the following areas have yet to officially inform GECOM of the state of affairs for no stated reason. I am therefore now seeking to formally inform GECOM that the local authority areas listed below have not yet elected mayor or chairman due to an equality of votes cast in favor of 2 nominated councillors in each case. This notification seeks to trigger GECOM's legal and constitutional responsibility to hold runoff elections in the 6 local authority areas. And I've listed the 6 areas: the municipality of Mabruma in Region 1, the Malgatut Merzorgan local authority area in Region 3, the Industry Plaisance local authority area in Region 4, the Woodlands Farm and the Woodlands Bel Air local authority areas in Region 5, and the Gibraltar Firish local authority area in Region 6. It is now GECOM's legal and constitutional responsibility to act. Yours faithfully, Bibi Shade. Now, when I wrote that letter, it was my hope that the CEO would consider, in the interest of people who have been receiving no services in those LAs, that he would contact the town clerk and overseers to get the official report before proceeding to hold runoff elections as the law provides. I am yet to receive an answer from the CEO. No response. However, at the statutory meeting of the commissioners, the matter was discussed, and even though it is agreed that GECOM's mandate is to hold the runoff elections, the CEO should not contact anyone for the information officially. The majority position was that the CEO shouldn't contact the overseers or the town clerk. And this is information which is and has been in the public domain since after the elections. Secondly, on the issue of the elections petition and the application by the CEO to have it thrown out, that application having been denied by the court, it has been brought to our notice that an appeal was filed, and on inquiry about any more fees being paid to the lawyer, the CEO responded that no other fees have been paid. It is our belief that the lawyer filed the appeal on his own volition and not on the instructions of the CEO. We have not been able to confirm this, but the Commission has to approve any and all expenditure incurred by GECOM, because GECOM is now one of the agencies listed in Schedule 3 in the Constitution and gets its funds directly from the Consolidated Fund. Thirdly, currently GECOM is conducting a cycle of continuous registration which will enable an up-to-date National Register of Registrants from which lists of electors are extracted. This exercise is necessary so that in case there is a vacancy arising in any local authority area between now and the next local government elections, there can be a valid list of electors extracted from the NRR for any constituency in any local authority area. The current exercise includes new registrations, transfers, and corrections. And as of Monday, June 13, 2016, there have been 2,944 transactions completed so far. Of these, I think a little less than 2,300 are new registrants. I would like to ask the media to help to sensitize the public of the importance of this exercise of continuous registration, even though GECOM is gearing to begin a fresh house-to-house registration, hopefully in 2017, making use of available technology. That's my brief statement, ladies and gentlemen. I have a copy of the letter I wrote, which I will, I can pass around to those who want it. And we can take any questions. I deliberately didn't give too much detail so that you can ask what questions you would like to. Thank you. Yeah.
Based on what you said there, I had the chance to go to each one Mabaroon over the course of the weekend. And I hear the talk of the mayor of Mabaroon. I'm a little confused now because is there really a mayor?
No.
I mean, you talk about these 6 areas, we hear about endemic traffic and all this happening, but then we still hear persons like in that classic case being referred to as a mayor.
Legally, there is no mayor. What has happened is the Honorable Minister of Communities, on his own advice or advice of whoever, took it upon himself to select people. And this is not according to the law. And in fact, I think there are matters in court challenging those things. There is an order nisi in place, which order was supposed to leave the status quo as it is, and there are orders, order of mandamus asking, telling the town clerk and so on that they're supposed to take the steps to hold the runoff elections and so on. That matter hasn't been completed yet. But the practice seems to have been that, no matter what the law is, if we want to do this, we do this. And the idea of runoff elections is not new, In the last local government elections we had in this country in 1994, there were 2 local authority areas that had such a situation existing, and runoff elections were held to choose the chairman. So it's not as if, and it's not that GECOM doesn't know it has to do this. The little technicality is that the overseers have to so inform GECOM. That hasn't been done yet. We believe the overseers didn't inform GECOM, not because they didn't want to, but because they probably were told not to. Yeah.
I spoke to the regional chairman recently on this matter.
Regional chairman of?
Region 1. And he pointed out that while there is a court order which said that, banned, I don't know if that's the right word, but banned the persons who Mr. Burkan appointed as mayor and so forth perform their duties, these persons are still performing their duties. He explained to me that a date is supposed to be set. Whose responsibility is that to set that date for the elections?
Now,
according to the law, the overseer is
the town clerk in
overseer in the case of neighborhood democratic councils, and in townships or municipalities, it is the town clerk who has, in the absence of any clear winner, and the term used in the legislation is in the instance where there is an equality of votes for 2 persons vying to be mayor, then the town clerk or the overseer, as the case may be, has to fix a date on which an election for these persons who have that equality of votes to be run off by the voters at the time being in that municipality or local authority or NDC. So, for example, you have 2 persons, three persons, A, B, and C, all contesting the post of mayor. And of course, these contestants would be persons who are already elected councillors, because this is a process from among the councillors already elected. So you have A, B, and C, and then you have A getting 10 votes, B getting 10 votes, and C getting 6 votes. Then there must be a runoff between A and B within that local authority area. And that date, statutorily, by the 2801 and 2802, has to be set by the overseer or town clerk.
Isn't there a deadline or a time frame which person should...
Well, the Constitution says before the 28th
Well,
of December
the same
The law
legislation says
says
before the 28th,
of
the
December.
last day of December. The difficulty is, and this is what Commissioner Shadiq alluded to, the difficulty is you have a neglect and or refusal by the town clerk, as in the case of Region Mabaruma, and the overseers in the other 5 NDCs, and neglect and or refusal to so name a date. So that is the genesis, perhaps, of the impasse. Now, moving that a step further, the Honorable Minister of Communities has proceeded to select those persons. While that is catered for in the legislation,
It has to be
it has to be after that election on the date set by the town clerk or overseer.
If
If
there is
only that election results in another tie, then the minister's function becomes applicable.
So, I mean, I take note of all that, but technically, they still have until December 28th to set the date.
According to the law. But how do you leave a local authority area for 9 months without any services, without any meeting and so on? But the thing is that the overseer having set that date, according to law, all elections fall within the mandate of GECOM. And since it is elections of all the voters, it is GECOM that has to hold those elections. It has to be clear there, right?
Let me
Yes.
just say, I'd just like to point out that GECOM's imperative with respect to the holding of elections, wholesome elections, is to make sure that people are elected properly according to the law, and that in so doing, people are safe and that the situation is stable. The fact of the matter is that no action taken by a chairman, vice chairman, or mayor in the presence of these ties and in the absence of any elections could be lawful, so that there could be no person in a lawful position purporting to be a mayor of Mabaruma in the Northwest, in Region 1. It's completely illegal, and any action they take with respect to administration or the issuance or the signing or the approval of monies and actions and projects, all of those things are illegal. And it is the responsibility of GECOM to make sure quickly and in its own interest as the overseer, the agency responsible for the holding of free, fair, and democratic elections, that all things are taken with respect to ensure that this happens. So GECOM should not sit idly by and allow things to drift in the way that they are drifting. In my view, in our view, I think it's GECOM's responsibility to urge the REOs or the overseers or whoever else to take the requisite action to make sure that the elections are held as soon as possible, so that a proper and normal situation exists and that things are not left hanging.
So you said they're taking up these positions leading to, is there any sanctions or that can be?
Well, I think what is being done is that the recourse is being taken at the level of the stakeholders at the courts. But as I said, I want to emphasize that it's GECOM's fundamental responsibility to urge, to advise, to bring to the attention of the public and the other stakeholders their responsibility in this matter. And GECOM would be failing in its duty to the country and to the Constitution, in my view, if it doesn't take such an action to make sure that things are stable and lawful, arising out of its mandate.
I think the letter that I wrote makes that clear, that they do have a legal and constitutional responsibility to act.
And a moral and ethical responsibility too.
It is the CEO that has to act. But you need to remember that on the Elections Commission, There are 7 of us. 6 commissioners and a chairman. A chairman who also has a vote. And invariably, the chairman votes with the commissioners who are not from among us. So even though we might try to urge that something is done, we don't necessarily get the approval that something should be done.
So there's no urgency on the point from the position of the chairman or CEO to have this unnatural situation resolved and to make sure that all that is done, that which has arisen flowing from the elections that was on its purview and responsibility, that those things are lawful, correct, and responsible. And this is really a great problem with respect to the agency there. We have great concerns with the way it is run, great concerns with its administration, great concerns with respect to the transparency of its actions and actions taken. And these are things we have been working at, I would say to our distress in many instances. We continue to work at these, but now without much hope with respect to seeing these issues being resolved properly.
Yeah, any other question on this? Yes.
You mentioned that the government wants to start new registration.
Well, new
GECOM.
house to house, GECOM is contemplating new house to house, yes, and they
Has
have said that
started.
publicly. No, they're doing a continuous registration now, but they are scheduled to do new house to house registration, and at the level of the commission, that and GECOM has said this publicly, that those house to house registrations could begin as early as 2017, bearing in mind that we're supposed to have local government elections again in 2019. According to government spokesperson, they'll do it to the end of 2018, not sure. So, which makes that more, important. What is going on now is a cycle of continuous registration. This exercise is necessary to update the national register. You register people from as old as 14 whose names go on the register, and out of that register you extract the names of eligible voters, those who when they become, and do preliminary lists and do the other things. So in order to get valid lists, and this continuous registration is necessary because if, for instance, in any one of the local government areas, one of the constituency candidates leaves for any reason, dies, gets sick, resigns, whatever, and a vacancy arises, you have to have a by-election to fill that vacancy. And so you need valid lists. So this continuous registration will enable that. But the new house-to-house registrations are different. Once a house-to-house registration is done, the old national register is archived, and so you get a new national register. What we are hoping for is that the register will be compiled using technology. Yes. Anybody else? All right.